So, hi everyone. In this video, I will critique the documentary of Islam, the Untold Story. So, this film talks about how Islam began and asks whether the early history of Islam is supported by evidences from archaeologists and historical records. So, my goal in this critique is to check the documentary's accuracy and educational value. So the documentary makes several main claims. So it says that the early Islamic history does not have many written records from the time it happens. And second, it suggested that archaeology and old non-Islamic writings did not perfectly match the traditional Islamic story. And third, it uses expert interviews and old texts to question the early history of Islam. So the documentary uses some real evidences like maps, ruins, and expert comments. However, the evidence is sometimes weak or incomplete. It also does not show the opinions of Muslim historians or scholars who support the traditional Islamic story. Because of this, the documentary feels one-sided. So the documentary has a big cultural and educational impact. So it makes some people curious about the documentary and want to learn more, which is good. But because it is one-sided, it can may also cause a misunderstanding for Islam. So it does help people think about how historians try to study the past, but new viewers get the wrong idea uh, get the wrong idea with how strong the historical evidences against Islam. But the documentary also has weaknesses. First, it has bias. It focuses mostly on doubts about Islamic history and does not show other viewpoints. This makes the story feel unbalanced. Second, some claims are oversimplified. Just because evidence is missing does not mean events did not happen. Early Arabian history simply lacks many surviving artifacts. Third, the documentary does not compare Islam with other religions that also rely on later written sources. This makes Islam looks unusual even though this problem exists in many ancient histories. Overall, the film does not fairly represent Islamic history because it mostly shows one side of the debate. So there are still good things about the documentary. It has strong visuals. It uses real historical places, uses maps, and explain ideas with clear graphics. So for the expert interview, it also helped explain how historians study the past. So another strength is that it encourages critical thinking. It makes the viewers ask questions about the evidences and how history is written. So for students, it can be a good introduction to know to how historian works. In conclusion, the documentary of Islam, the Untold Story is interesting. It is visually appealing. It raises good questions about history. But since it is not fully balanced, and it leaves out important viewpoints. But the documentary is also important as good starting point to learn about debating history, but it needs more perspective and stronger evidences to make it more reliable.